Okay, so I'm about to do a video on Jodi Hildebrandt's Connections Classroom Instagram, which let's call a spade a spade. It's not going to be up very much longer. I have a feeling they're going to have that taken down on Instagram. They already scrubbed YouTube of any content that these two idiots put together. So it's going to make it hard to actually, like, I've never heard of these people until the case came up and the arrests came up. And I actually kind of avoided it because child abuse kind of freaks me out, you know? But now I'm brave. I'm good. I'm going to try to look at it. And I want to look and react to some of their reels that they posted on their Instagram, because we all know it's not going to be up very long. Now, this could get me in trouble on YouTube, but I got like a little nobody channel, so it don't matter. So let's look at one of the videos. Here we go. Let's get in focus. What are tactics of deception? That should be something they're well versed in.
We have been doing a series around tactics of deception. In order for you to see truth, you're going to need to know the opposition. Anytime you go into battle, you need to know the enemy.
Really? That's really crazy, because that's literally what I'm doing. As I look at this, I'm like, I need to know, because I like to get therapy. I like to get life coaching. I like to better myself. I know that there are people in the mental health industry that are abusive pieces of shit, con artists, snake oil salesmen, smooth talking, that are really good at the tactics of deception. And I almost feel like they're calling this out. So if they say it first, you can't get wise to that's what they're doing. I got to say about this.
And distortion is the enemy of truth. And so we're living in a world right now that largely believes truth is this subjective, ethereal idea, like, what's true for me, and you can have what your truth and my truth, and it's all different.
Very subjective, very based on how I feel.
Yeah, it moves, it's fluid.
Okay, so this is some bullshit, and let me explain to you why. They're saying that truth in society today is fluid. That's not it. That's not it. Truth is not fluid. Facts are not fluid. However, nowadays, we are a little bit more sensitive about different points of view. Somebody who is gay or trans or believes in a different religion, like somebody who's Islamic or Jewish, these are people who have different points of view. And what we're learning, at least in modern society, is not, these watery truths. What we're learning is accepting that other people's perceptions could be different from my perception. It really has less to do with truth and more to do with just respecting the fact that other people think differently than me, which is probably something that these two harpies have a hard time with. I don't know. What do you think? Let's see what else they got to say.
There's very a lack of base.
Go kick a rock and see how fluid that is.
Kick your head.
I know, that's fluid. Well,
oh yeah, let me do that.
I don't know why it hurt you. I'm sitting here jabbing. There is truth, and there is reality, and there's one truth. There's one reality. All of us are living in the reality, and if that's uncomfortable for you, you will either sit in the pain and acknowledge and validate that this is painful. This reality is it is breaking my heart. It is I don't like this. I want something and I don't get to have it. And you're surrendered to the reality, or you're going to go running away, and no one wants to go.
No. That's not the only. Okay, so first of all, as I said before, these women are conflating factual truth with the nuance of perspective. That actually shows me that these two ladies really have, ironically enough, black and white thinking. It's either all true or none of it's true. There's no nuance. I mean, like, I can make a statement that is the truth. People like to eat bananas, all right? But making that as a blank statement and that's across the board, everybody likes to eat bananas, is stupid because it's more nuanced than that. There is a thing called nuance, and I can understand somebody with these two ladies who are probably somewhere in the psychopathic cluster B spectrum area, all of that stuff, cluster B stuff, you know, having a hard time with the concept of nuance. In fact, yes, it is a fact that a lot of people like bananas, but guess what? A lot of people don't, because it's objective perspective, friends. Now, this is actually really interesting because I noticed in one of their other videos, black and white right here, black and white. Now, from what I understand, black and white is a type of way of thinking, right? So let's see what I've already seen this video. Let me show you what they think about black and white thinking.
Black and white thinking uses omission because the person who's wanting to deceive you doesn't want you to see the whole picture. So I've seen this before, and I'm sure you have, where you tell a small child, hey, it's time for bed. Go get on your pajamas, go turn out your lights, and hop into bed. And then the reaction comes with crying and I want a drink and come read me another bedtime story and I want to say my prayers again.
Okay, that's not what black and white thinking is by any stretch of the imagination. What she's talking about is a kid doesn't want to go to bed, so they find excuses to delay doing something they don't want to do. That's more like procrastination. That's more like, maybe it's just like, man, I really don't want to go to bed right now. I don't want to miss out on all the fun stuff. Let me find other things to do to delay it. That's all they're really doing. That has nothing to do with black and white thinking. Black and white thinking is the concept, and they displayed their own black and white thinking in the previous video. Black and white thinking is the concept that everything is either all the way good or everything is either all the way bad. Either you love a person and they are wonderful, or you hate them and they're the devil. That's true black and white thinking. I don't know where she's coming up with this thing about kids delaying going to bed is black and white thinking. Because black and white thinking is basically the idea that you can't have a nuanced thought. You can't look at a person and say, well, you know, that guy's a good guy, but he's also, you know, kind of a liar sometimes. I saw him lie to his wife, man. He's cheating on her. But at the same time, I work with him. He's a good guy at work. You know, you can't, there's nuance, and then there's black and white thinking. This subject matter is completely skewed. I don't even understand how she's putting, like, the logistics of the reasoning that she's trying to throw here. It just doesn't make no sense to me. It doesn't make no sense. I heard Jessie, oh God, what's her name? Not Hildebrand. Hildebar, whatever. I'm sorry that I'm mixing up the last name because I didn't know these people just yet. But Jessie is the niece of Jodi Hildebrand, and they said that whenever they would have a feeling or an emotion, Jodi would say that's from the devil or that's from God. That is black and white thinking. That is true black and white thinking. And to endow black and white thinking with something as simply human as procrastination or a kid just not getting their way and maybe acting up a little bit, that has nothing to do. That's like saying a cheeseburger is a car. What I don't understand how Jessie said that Jodi was this really convincing person, and if you talked to her, she'll basically convince you. She's very good at manipulation, and she'll convince you things that you normally wouldn't agree with. But I'm confused on that. I don't know if I believe that. Jesse, I am proud of you for standing up and speaking out, but I disagree with you, my friend, because I'm listening to some of the bull crap that's coming out of your titi's mouth. I'm Latina, that's what we call them. And I'm confused. Where's the magical ability to make me believe all this bullshit? Cause it's bullshit. I don't believe none of it. So let's finish this nonsense, and then this is already a 10-minute video, but here we go.
Hold it back. No, you've had a drink. No, I've said prayers with you. No, you've had 3 stories already. No more attention. You get to bed, and now I'm turning out the light. Now here comes the black and white thinking. You're so mean. Either
that's not
a
black
story,
Or that means
you're being mean. You're expecting too much of me. Think of how many teenagers today use this black and white thinking. Either you affirm me or I'm going to kill myself. That's not of black and white thinking. It's a thinking trap for.
Okay, so that is literally not what black and white thinking is at all, folks. As I explained earlier, that's not what black and white thinking is. I don't understand how anybody bought into this bullshit. Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand. Let's watch one more. Okay, what does it mean to worship my child? Since this little harpy is in prison because she did some bad stuff to kids. Let's see what she has to say.
Worshipping your child will be placing your child's desires over responsibility.
What?
It is holding your child's behavioral manifestations as the first priority over principles.
What?
So instead of making your decision based on what is the truth, based on what is honest, responsible, and humble, you are basing your parenting decisions on how will the child respond. So you're taking the child's responses and putting that as your number one. That is the worship. Worshipping your child.
Okay. So I just feel like I'm Alice in Wonderland right now. How does that make any fucking sense? I'm sorry. How is that worshiping your child? Okay, I'll tell you something. I have met women who worship their child. Their kid can just take a shit and they'll frame it. And it's almost to the point where the kid's almost embarrassed, you know? A lot of narcissistic parents they'll see the kid as the extension of themselves. So they'll just go ahead and put a bunch of money into this kid, and they'll, buy the kid Gucci and all this shit that the kid don't need. And it doesn't really benefit the child. You'll notice most of the time the kid will get angry and act like Veruca Salt from like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That's worshiping the child. But you'll notice it's not necessarily giving into something that the kid wants or needs or their over principle. It's more a matter of the narcissistic projection that the kid is you. And so if your kid is wearing Louis Vuitton or Gucci Milan or all this shit, then that shows that you're a good mom. I think that's more closer to what you would see in worshiping a child, but it's really a matter of you and not really caring what the kid wants. You know? This bitch starved her children. So I think she just did it because it made her feel powerful. And I'm looking pretty forward to this case and seeing these women get their comeuppance, because there's so much evidence. I'm sorry. There's so much evidence. I hate to say it, but like Jodi's daughter, I really wish she would go to the prosecuting attorney and testify. Like I wish the family members would come forward, because it's not going to stop unless people come forward. And one of the family members on Frankie's side basically said it didn't stop. Nobody stopped it. And it's like, well, it can be stopped. Now we have the chance. I think everybody, if you come forward, you share your stories, you put these two bitches behind bars for life, man. They don't need to be part of society doing what they're doing to kids. All right, I know I said that was the last one, but I see one that's kind of, the title of it's pissing me off. It's this one right here. Woke is not awake. What you trying to say? All right, let's see what they got to say.
And one of the tactics that distortion uses is to change the meaning of words over time so that there's confusion. I remember when Common Core came into the school system and...
Whoa. That is literally what they're doing with their own content. They're taking words like distortion and they're throwing it around to mean something. And they're taking words like phrases like black and white thinking, and they're throwing it around to mean something. Child worship, throwing it around to mean something to suit their own narrative. They're literally, man, these are self-snitching, man. These videos are self-snitching. Y'all should be watching this.
It was a battle trying to speak with my child around math, a math problem I knew how to do, and yet the language I was using was not being understood by my child because different meanings were placed on those words, and it was divisive. So meanings of words have changed, and this is why it's important to go back to God for the meaning, because God doesn't change.
So there are other things that are going on in the world. There's this...
Okay, so here's an issue. They say God doesn't change, but to be perfectly honest with you, prove it. Prove it. Prove God even exists, man. That's a faith thing. That's more fluid than the way they were talking about the truth being fluid and all that other nonsense they were trying to tout. God is a concept that to this day, there is no actual evidence of existence. To this day, there is no way to prove that God exists. So how is God this concrete truth that these women are using to measure how you execute life? So that right there is a flaw in their argument. And that also proves to me that's the catalyst for how they could permit themselves to be so abusive to their children, because they're anchoring this ideology. It's like trying to pin a wave onto the shore, Like they're saying God is concrete and God's law is law, and that's the truth. And it's what I say at any given time, So this really primes any person to be abusive if they want. Let's just finish watching. I'm sorry.
Someone just said to me just a few minutes ago, like, you talk so much about being awake, but you don't like to say the word woke.
And I laughed because I'm like, does this person not understand the difference in the meaning of woke and awake? It's like completely opposite. But the person who was saying it thought that they meant the same thing.
Yeah, right.
And it's because this person wasn't extrapolating. They didn't know how to think. They were only thinking concrete.
And they were only thinking about their own meaning.
That's literally what they're... Okay, but that's...
If they want to have
that's what they're... That's doing with the concept of God in and of itself. Their definition of what God is, what God wants, what God says is concrete in their minds, but there's no actual concrete. It could change. So let's say God said I could lock my kids up in a basement, so it's okay? Like, this is madness, man. There's no facts. There's nothing substantial. I'm sorry, Jesse. I know you were abused, and I know you were a child when you were abused, and I know that you were afraid to come forward, and I know you conquered that fear, and I think that you are a warrior for that. And if I lived in your area, I would be getting me a tattoo. I want you to get me one of my stars, you know, because you're amazing. But I disagree with you. This bitch is nothing, man. Maybe to a child, and that's why they prey on children. Because there's no way a conscious adult with any logic or reasoning would buy into this bullshit. The only reason why these women got famous, the reason why these women got as much power as they did was, one, was because they were overpowering kids who don't have a say, and two, they were using a religion that already doesn't make no sense as a tool to control people. They used the right words. They made it all sound, Mormon-y. And you want to know something funny? My cousin's a Mormon. And he probably going to be... he doesn't watch YouTube. But he'd be pissed at me if he heard me say it. But I think that religion there's some problems. There's some problems in that religion. And I think that it gets that there are like these shark people who see that there are problems and go, ooh, I could use this ideology. And if I just say the right words and I change the meaning of words, which is literally what she's talking about. She's telling on herself. She's self-snitching. If I change the meaning of words and I use God and I say these spiritual sounding things, then everything I'm saying is legitness. Legitness. That was some legitness. Okay, if you know that meme, then you're cool. All right, let's finish. Because it's already a 22-minute long video. Girl, you are a mess.
Conversation with another person, they must stay humble, right? All responsible and humble. They must stay humble and get curious. Like, what do you mean by awake? And is there a difference between you using the word awake and using the word woke? And I'd say, yes!
And one of the tactics that distortion uses
is
to change the meaning of words over time.
That's literally, okay. All right, so these two women are self-snitching on these videos. I would highly recommend, if you stayed through this whole video, I have one question for you. What the hell is wrong with you? Go watch somebody who actually has subscribers and uploads regularly. But if you have time and you want to get into these people's brains, because I want to get into these people's brains to see why they are this way, go to their Instagram and look at it, because this ain't going to be around for long. I'm going to tell you that. I'll tell you, by October, it looks like the internet's going to be clean wiped from anything to do with these two little fucking turds over here. All right, that's enough.